Narrator. Before we dive into today's geopolitical chaos, let's take a moment to understand the context. The Israel-Gaza conflict didn't start yesterday, and it won't end tomorrow. But what exactly led us to this boiling point? Let's rewind a bit. Scene transitions to a historical map of the Middle East, highlighting Israel and Gaza. Narrator. Our story begins decades ago, in a land where conflict seems as natural as breathing. Over the years, countless attempts at peace have failed, and the cycle of violence has continued unabated. Scene transitions to grainy footage of past conflicts, peace talks, and key political figures. Narrator, every flare-up, every ceasefire, every negotiation has added another layer to this complex tapestry. And while the world watches, the people caught in the middle continue to suffer. Scene transitions to a split screen showing everyday life in Israel and Gaza. Narrator, on one side a nation striving to maintain its security, on the other, a territory fighting for recognition and survival. Both sides have their narratives, and both sides have their casualties. Scene fades to black, with a soft ambient tension music playing in the background. Narrator. Now that we've set the stage, let's fast forward to the present day. What's happening now, and why does it feel like we're on the edge of something catastrophic? Scene fades to scene 2. Welcome to another round of Is This the End Times? Male presenter. Hello and welcome to another edition of Did Humanity Collectively Lose Its Mind this week? The answer, as you might have guessed from the title, is a resounding probably. Yes, we're talking about the Israel-Gaza conflict, a geopolitical dumpster fire that's been burning for decades. This week, things got extra spicy, with ceasefire talks, hostage situations, and enough military action to make Henry Kissinger reach for a stiff drink. But fear not, dear reader. We're here to break it down for you in a way that's both informative and mildly amusing. Because if we don't laugh, we'll cry, and frankly, we're all cried out from the last TikTok trend. So buckle up, grab your beverage of choice, we recommend something strong, and let's dive into this mess, shall we? Scene transitions to scene 3, like herding cats but with more rockets. Hello, and welcome to another edition of Did Humanity Collectively Lose Its Mind this week? The answer, as you might have guessed from the title, is a resounding probably. Yes, we're talking about the Israel-Gaza conflict, a geopolitical dumpster fire that's been burning for decades. This week things got extra spicy, with ceasefire talks, hostage situations, and enough military action to make Henry Kissinger reach for a stiff drink. But fear not, dear reader, we're here to break it down for you in a way that's both informative and mildly amusing. Because if we don't laugh, we'll cry, and frankly, we're all cried out from the last TikTok trend. So, buckle up, grab your beverage of choice, we recommend something strong, and let's dive into this mess, shall we? Ceasefire talks, those magical moments when everyone pretends they want peace while simultaneously lobbing explosives at each other. It's like a romantic comedy, but with more explosions and fewer awkward first dates. The US, bless their optimistic souls, is trying to broker a deal. Think of them as the friend who keeps inviting you to parties, hoping you'll finally hit it off with that special someone. Spoiler alert, it's not going well. Israel's like, sure, we'll stop shooting, as soon as they stop shooting at us first. And Hamas is all, oh yeah, well, we'll stop shooting right after we finish this batch of rockets. It's the geopolitical equivalent of a staring contest, except the stakes are slightly higher than who gets the last slice of pizza. In a rare moment of good news, Israel managed to pull off a daring hostage rescue. Think Argo, but with less fake movie making and more sand. It's a reminder that even in the darkest of times, humanity can still surprise you. Of course, this being the Middle East, it's never that simple. The operation, dubbed the Rafah something or other, we're still working on getting the PR team to give us a catchy name, involved a lot of explosions, gunfire, and general chaos. Think of it as a Michael Bay film, but with fewer slow-motion doves and more existential dread. Section 4, Gaza Aid. Because even warring factions need snacks. Speaking of existential dread, let's talk about Gaza. Imagine a place where the power's always out, the water's questionable, and the only thing moving faster than the news cycle is the price of bread. Yeah, not great. The good news is that aid is trickling in because even sworn enemies can agree that starving people is bad for business. The bad news is that getting aid into Gaza is like trying to thread a needle while riding a unicycle on a tightrope during an earthquake. Think of it as a logistical nightmare, but instead of being trapped in IKEA with a flat-pack wardrobe, you're surrounded by rubble and the constant threat of airstrikes. Section 5, the remaining hostages, a waiting game nobody wants to play. Of course, no good news story is complete without a hefty dose of reality. While some hostages were rescued, many remain in captivity. It's a waiting game for their families, a heartbreaking limbo where every phone call could be the one or just another reminder of their loved one's absence. Negotiations for their release are ongoing, which is diplomat speak for, we're sending strongly worded letters and hoping for the best. It's a delicate dance where one wrong step could have disastrous consequences. Section 6, Tel Aviv attack. Just another Tuesday? Not quite. And just when you thought things couldn't get more complicated, Hamas decided to launch an attack on Tel Aviv. Because why settle for one crisis when you can have two? It's the geopolitical equivalent of ordering a double espresso after a sleepless night. Bold, but not necessarily wise. The attack, while thankfully not as deadly as it could have been, threw a wrench into the already fragile ceasefire talks. Imagine trying to negotiate a peace treaty while someone's setting off fireworks in the background. It's distracting, to say the least. Secretary Blinken, the diplomatic equivalent of a kindergarten teacher trying to wrangle a room full of sugar-crazed toddlers, is still trying to salvage the situation. He's been making the rounds, shuttling between capitals and trying to convince everyone to just calm down. Will he succeed? Who knows? That's the beauty of international diplomacy. It's like watching a slow-motion car crash, but with more at stake than your insurance premium. That's all the time we have for this week's edition of The World on Fire But Making Progress. Tune in next week when we'll be discussing, well, let's be honest, it'll probably be more of the same. But hey, at least we'll have each other, right? Right?